Good morning and welcome to this new video on my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Trickster Roach again in this mod, because I changed a little bit the playstyle, but it's just some small changes. So I wanted to make the guide again and just fix the old one. So basically, just for you to know, I'm not the best TR on the server. It's probably a way to play the TR better than mine. It's just my playstyle I show here, because I get a lot of comments or people tell me, oh no, you don't do that, you're shit. And just for you to know, it's my playstyle. If you want to play it that way, it's fine. I just show what I do, and if you don't want to play it, or you just want to say, oh yo, you're bad as fuck, you can write it, but I don't care. So let's start with the video. So first of all, we start with the character, so with the equipment. Basically, I use this equipment nearly everywhere, except of the head. The head changes from the Tom layout to the Lion Guard head, because the Protege's hood is only good for Tom or for Lom, because of the 5% more damage in Undermountain. If you don't do well with dungeons, you can change it to the Lion Guard head. Yeah. So as you can see here, for multi-target it changed it, and for Zariel it also changed it. For Zariel there's also the artifact, which is changing, because in Zariel you always have to use a buff artifact and not a self buff. So in the other layouts I always use a self buff, so that I want Storyteller's Journal for more action points and more damage. And one thing you can change everywhere except of Zariel, but I don't, because I don't care, is the silvering of the Herald. It's 3% more damage for the at-will powers. Well, as you can see, it's not the best ring you can use for DPS. So in every other dungeon you should be using the Shadow Stalker or the Ebonized Assault Ring. Only in Zariel, you need this ring if you play my build, because otherwise you can't get the stats you want, or you have to lose power if you want to get the stats, and I don't want to lose power, so I use this ring. So let's go back to the single target layout. Basically, I use the Scavenger Hide for 10% more power, the Lion Guard's Raid Gloves for 250 power every stack, and you can get 220 stacks. Then the Celestial weapons. You also can use the Lionheart, but the Celestial are better if you can get them. If you can get the Lionheart too, just use the next one below. For the Celestial, I go for the, where you can see it, here. For the Duelist Flurry, bonus DPS. And here you go for critical severity and power. Sometimes you also can change it to health for Zariel, so you can cap the stats more easy. I also do that often. I just got the weapons today, so didn't upgrade it that. But as you can see on my other hand, here's the health slightly increased. Let's go back to the Celestial. For the shoes, or for the feet, I used the Rusted Iron Leggings for the 5% more damage. Then for the neck, waist and artifact, so the artifact set, I go for the Hellester. So you have the 5% more DPS, which is like 4% in real, if you stand still for 3 seconds. It's, even though a lot of people say it's not usable in Zariel, it is usable in Zariel, because nearly every time you can attack, or you really can attack the boss, you are standing longer than 3 seconds, so you get all the DPS boost likely every time you attack the boss with the encounters. So it's still the best set in my opinion. But you also can go for the Dark Remand set, so with the Book of Wild Darkness, the set from, how it's called in English, the EC. Let's look. The Infernal Citadel. So for the other ring, I use the Striking Ring of Masters for 3% more melee power damage, and for the shirt, I go for the Ebony State Raid shirt, and for the pants of Keeper. The Pants of Keeper to get more action points, the Ebony Stain shirt for 3% more damage if my stamina is over 75%. And you should use in every offensive slot the Radiant enchantment, and in the weapon enhancement slot the Billet Horn for single target, or the I have it here, or the Lightning enchantment if you go for the mobs, so for multi-target. You also should use one Tenebros enchantment in the offensive slots. For the defense slots, you use Radiant enchantments and Bark Shield for more survivability, I think it's called in English. And for the utility slots, you go for Dark enchantments. And for the Overload, you can go for the Lesser Corrupted Black Eyes enchantment, or the bigger one, the Mighty, I don't know how it's called in English. And I also don't have it in the inventory right now. Never mind. For Zariel, you can use, or you are able to use the Bulwark of Brimstone for 5% more maximum hit points, and oh, you see the Greater Corrupted Black Eyes, and the Rage of Flames for 5% more total damage in Zariel. Also, one thing that changed is the ability score. For every dungeon except of Zariel, I go for Strength and Dexterity for more DPS. In Zariel, I go for Strength and Constitution for more HP, because it's way easier to cap your HP with the Constitution than with other things in your character, because then you always lose a little bit of power, and the power is more than the dexterity you get here. Let's go back to the single target. Yeah, I think we have everything here. The ratings or the caps for the dungeons should be known, but for Tom it is 80k, so 6,000 less than here. 80k armor penetration, 80k defense, critical, deflect, and 130k combat advantage. And for Zariel it's 90k and 140k. With the HP, it's likely it's way easier to play with more HP in Tom or other dungeons, because even if you do something wrong, you nearly never die. So I play in every dungeon with 450k except of Zariel, where I go for the 500k. If you are not that good in Zariel yet, it's also good to have a little bit more HP than 500k, because at 500k and you die like 2 times, you are so low in the HP that you really easy die. Let's go on with the powers. For the Adwils, I always go for Dilist Flurry and Gloaming Cut. For the encounter, Slashing Blade and Wicked Reminder and Assassinate. For the daily, Whirlwind of Blades and Shocking Execution. For the class features, Invisible Infiltrator and Oppressive Darkness. And for the feats on single target, it's Toxic Blades, Master of Shadows, Skycracker, Back Alley Tactics, and Shadows Flurry. And for multi-target, it's Toxic Blades, Master of Shadows, Duelist Expertise, and Back Alley Tactics. And this is just for my layout, because I nearly never changed loadouts. So for bosses, this would be good. For single target, for multi-target, you go for Execution, which is way better for mobs. But I don't change the loadouts that often, so it's just... But I can use it also good at bosses, so I have it that way that I have it. The encounters for multi-target changes to Blade Flurry and Path of the Blade and Smoke Bomb. So the rotation for mob groups are slightly easy. So you use Path of Blades before you are in the group. Then you use the Stealth and... how it's called in English? Blade Flurry. And then you can use the Smoke Bomb, and you should be able to use Stealth again if you play that way. And then another time Stealth, Blade Flurry. You also can use your daily for the rotation, because you get invisibility or stealth revealed if you use your daily power. So you can go in the mob groups, use your stealth, use the Blade Flurry, use a Glowing Cut, use your Smoke Bomb. Then you can use your stealth again, then use the daily, use your stealth again, and use Blade Flurry again. So you can use it up to 4 times if you really want to. Then all the bigger mobs should be dead. Really dead. So it's quite easy on the mobs. For the bosses, it's also quite easy. I need more action points. So you go for the 10 stacks. Don't forget, it also... I don't know why it stacks up to 11 times, not to 10 times. So if you want to try it, just stack up the 10 times. Wait for the damage to come with the tri-weapons, and then do the 11 stacks. And you can see you get also a damage increase on the bleed. So if you want to use the 11 stacks, you should use it. Also, it's not shown. So let's continue. You have to keep the 10 stacks up, and you also use Glowing Cut every time you're not using the Duelist Flurry, except when you use the encounter for sure. I go for... how it's called in English? Wicked Reminder first, then Stealth, then Lashing Blade, then the daily, then Stealth again, and Assassinate. If you can say to 100% you're standing behind the enemy, you get the complete damage bonus of Assassinate, even without the Stealth. So you go for... let's fill up the daily again. So you can go for your at-wills again to get this 10 stacks, which don't want to go on the enemy because it's too less on HP, but never mind. Use your stealth, use Wicked Reminder, use your daily, then use stealth again, use Lashing Blade, and then Assassinate. That way you get even more DPS out of it, only if you're standing exactly behind the enemy. So you get the bonus of Assassinate even without the stealth. If you're not, use it the other way, because you get 5% more damage after using the daily. Wicked Reminder gives you 10% damage bonus, so Wicked Reminder has to be used before the daily, because if you crit the daily and you are in Zariel or that way, you can crit up to 6 to 9 million. So it's quite important to push the damage of the daily as far as you can. Also interesting is you deal 10% more damage for 5 seconds after leaving stealth. So that's the reason why you have to use one or something. It doesn't have to be an encounter, but you have to use something in stealth before you use the daily. So Wicked Reminder, which gives you the 10% damage boost, is in my opinion the best thing to use before if you can say you are behind the boss. If you can not say it, you should use Lashing Blade to get the bonus out of Lashing Blade and Assassinate. Because it's more than the 5% after using the daily, the damage bonus. So it's 25%. And here it's the critical severity 50%. So it's way better than the 5% more damage after using the daily. So that's the reason why. Yeah, let's go on with the boons. For the boons, I use always the power, the HP, and the movement speed, as also the companion influence, sorry for my bad English, and the critical severity, and I use the recharge speed. A lot of people use the action point gain. It just depends on how you want to play it or what you want more. For the master boon, I go always for Bloodlust. A lot of people go for the focused retaliation for more outgoing damage if you get damage, which is quite interesting in Zariel because you get a lot of DPS all the time. So it's quite interesting, but for my opinion, Bloodlust is slightly better than focused retaliation. Then the other points you just use for the stats you want to have. In Zariel, it looks like that for my character, if you want to know. For the guild stronghold, you go for the critical severity if you don't have, go for the power. Critical severity is slightly better, it's about 2% better than the power. And for the defense, you go for the HP, if you can cap your defense. If you can't cap your defense, for sure you go for the defense. At the utility slot, use the Resurrection Sickness stack thing, Revive Sickness bonus, to get less reduced power, stats, whatever, if you die. For the companion, I used I've Grown Grimoire of the Companion and Burnt Bell of the Companion and Gold Leaf Grimoire of the Companion. So for 12,000 combat advantage, for 4,000 defense and 7,000 accuracy, and for 7,000 armor penetration, 4,800 combat advantage. For the offensive slots, I go for the Empowered Runestone for more power, and in the defense slot, I go for the Provane Runestone wearing 15 for the defense, so I can easily cap my defense in the Zariel build without losing a lot of power. So for the companions themselves, I go for the Baby Deep Crow Presence, for the Raptor's Instinct, for Alpha Compi, for Bateri and Iron Golem's Presence, for the 16,000 maximum hit points and 2,000 defense. These two change a little bit in the different layouts or loadouts. So for a single target for Tom, I used the Minstrel Discipline instead of the, how was it called, Iron Golem. And for the multi-target, I replaced the Bateri because the Bateri only gives you 4% more damage on bosses, so not on more enemies, so it's useless there. So you go for the 4,000 power and 2,000 critical strike. And I always have the Bullet Pup as summoned companion. For the mounts, I use the Pet Swarm. You're also good with the T-Rex or with the Griffin or with the Bullet Pup, or how it's called. For the passive power, I think it's called, you go for the 10,000 power. If you don't have the HP for Zariel or for something else, you also can use the HP bonus of the mount, which is anywhere in here. Here it is, 50,000. But if you can cap your HP, it's way better to use the power in here. For the stable or for the insignia bonuses, I go for Gladiator Skull, Combatant's Maneuver, Artificious Precision, Combatant's Maneuver again, and Shepherd's Devotion. And for the Zariel, I just use one Assassin Covenant, not sure how it's called. The way, because of the dominance, you have to use insignia bonuses like that, or you had to use. Now with the packs where you nearly can get everything for every slot. You also can use the heal insignia bonuses, but normally you have to use them because the healers should heal you. But if you run a lot with smaller people or smaller healers or without a healer, it's great to use healing insignia words, because only these two insignia words are, in my opinion, important. The others you can use whatever you want. You can use the healing in words or whatever, or just the insignia words which with the insignias were the most or the less expensive ones. So you go for dominance nearly everywhere, and for Zariel you nearly have to go for brutality to cap the, how it's called, the armor penetration. So I use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 brutality insignias to cap the armor penetration. So yeah, I think that's everything I have to say for the TR. If you have any questions, as always, just write them down in the comments. And see you in the next video.